Hello and welcome to the Business Academy at IUN Zoom conversation on business insurance. I'm Jana Zostek, Director of the Business Academy, and I'm happy to be able to share this information with you. The Business Academy at IUN is a resource for small businesses and entrepreneurs of Northwest Indiana. We offer a variety of programming throughout the year, are available for consultation, and provide a YouTube channel with educational videos. Our YouTube channel name is Business Academy at IUN, where at is the spelled word, not the at symbol. You can reach me through our website at iun.edu/SBA. I'm excited to welcome Paul Dawning, a local State Farm agent, to our program. Paul is an established entrepreneur, civic leader, mentor, and family man. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Public Affairs from Indiana University in 1991. Upon graduating from college, he began working as a trainee in the claims department with State Farm Insurance. After spending 8 years advancing through the ranks of operations, Paul became an independent sales agent. Paul is actively involved with his church and several ministries and serves on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club of the Greater Northwest Indiana, where he chairs their Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. In addition, he serves on the board of directors of the Gary Chamber of Commerce and is active on the Economic Business Development Committee. Welcome, Paul. I'm so glad you were able to join us.
Hey, Jana. Thank you for having me. I'm so
Thank you.
excited to be here today.
Awesome. Well, insurance isn't exactly something that most people want to talk about, but it's really important for a business owner to consider. So I'm really glad to have you here to talk with us about it. Maybe we could set the stage first by explaining what insurance is. It's about transferring risk, and people need to kind of make the decision of how much risk they're comfortable in keeping for themselves versus transferring to the insurance company. Can you maybe explain that a little bit?
Yeah, to keep it simple, insurance is protection. And I pretty much say that I'm in the just in case business. Just in case something happens, you would like for the insurance to pay instead of you having to pay out of your pocket. I'm a simple type guy, so that's
Oh,
how
that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. And so the deductible is what you decide you're going to keep, and then you have choices on what you want that to be, and some
Yeah,
people are
your deductible does dictate your premium, but also the amount of coverage that you will require, and in addition to that, your liability coverage. So it's all a package deal. Ultimately, your premium and your protection is based on the type of business. So if you have a business that has a lot more exposure, then you're probably going to pay a little more than a business that does not.
right. Sure. Okay. So when I was earning my insurance producer license, I was surprised by the differences between personal and commercial coverage. So what are some of the things that we should maybe point out so business owners understand it's not exactly like what you're used to on the personal side? There are some differences.
Yeah, I think the glaring difference is that if you think your personal use policy is going to cover your business, that's a no-no. Most personal use policies exclude business use because
Right.
you're charging someone, and that's not covered.
Right, right.
Could it intertwine some? Yes, but the general rule that I would say is you get a business policy to cover your business, and your personal use covers your outside use outside of your business, unless it's a vehicle. There's some things that you can do there that I think we're going to dig into that a little later. But yeah, you could if you're using your, well, we can talk about it now. if you're using your vehicle in the course of business, your personal use vehicle in the course of your business,
Mhm.
then it would be a good idea to have a conversation with your agent to change your usage to business, because that's common. If you have to run errands, or if you have to go to different locations in your vehicle in the course of business and you're using your own personal vehicle, then you can label your vehicle as business use.
And a lot of people think that that will be much more expensive,
Yeah,
but that's not necessarily the case.
I think it depends on, how you're using it. Now, if you're transporting people, that's different.
Yes.
That's a no-no for insurance. If you're transporting people in your vehicle, then that increases your exposure. And in some cases, that could cause you to get canceled
Mhm.
or have to change your policy to
Sure,
accommodate for
sure.
that.
I think that's a point worth stressing. If you are driving for Uber or Lyft or um, helping out a friend who has a transport, maybe a medical transport company or anything like that, when you've got people in your vehicle who are paying to be in that vehicle, that is a huge risk. And the
Yes.
insurance company needs to know about it.
Yeah, the insurance company wants to know about it, because insurance company, I know sometimes we get a bad name for being the bad guy, but it's all about exposure. So when we're pricing your policy to cover the risk, we're not taking into account that you're actually running a business and you're transporting people, that if you got in an accident, those people, if they get injured, they're going to sue you along with the other people if you were at fault
Right.
or not. They're going to, that's a liability risk as well. So
Sure.
that's why the insurance companies always want to properly label how you're using the vehicle, because it increases exposure.
Sure.
And to go back to your Uber deal, if you think of Uber as a taxi, back in the day with the light on top, when you're en route to pick up a client, then you're working in business, that you're actually using the vehicle for business. Why that person is in your vehicle, that's considered business until they get out of your vehicle. So if you don't have an endorsement on your policy, or if you don't have that coverage with that ride share company, then you're exposing yourself to not being covered.
Right. Okay. Definitely an important point for people to keep in mind. Um, and another thought that comes to mind for me on that is
Mhm.
um, when you have other people driving for you, whether you're transporting people or transporting other things, if you have other people driving your company vehicles, that's another thing that the insurance company needs to know. They need to be able to vet those drivers. And,
Mhm.
if you're putting someone behind the wheel that the insurance company doesn't know about, you might have a problem.
Well, it always goes back to they want to properly rate for the risk. So if you have employees driving your vehicles, insurance company wants to know, because if they can't drive, that's going to affect your rate, because
Exactly.
there's a higher chance that they're going to have an accident.
Yeah, yeah,
It's real. Once you really think about it, it's a lot of common sense, basic
yeah,
type stuff. But we don't always think that way. We just think that, hey, I got insurance, I'm good. When
right.
in all actuality, the insurance company is trying to properly rate you so that insurance costs as a whole don't increase.
Sure.
Sound like an insurance guy.
You might have done this a time or two. So, liability,
Yeah.
the risks that you keep mentioning. I mean, no matter how careful you are, there's always risk of harm to others, whether we're in our personal vehicle or driving, or whether we're at our home or at a place of business. There's always the potential for someone being hurt. or property being damaged. So that's where liability insurance comes in if harm is done to a third person. So can you talk a little bit about the type of coverage a business might want to think about in terms of liability?
Yeah, so there's two liability coverages that as a business owner you need to thoroughly understand. Okay. So one is general liability, which covers if you come into my office and if you slip and fall, something falls on you, then that's your general liability policy will cover that. However, let's use an example. Let's say you're a beautician and you have a business. So you have your business insurance policy, but you don't get professional liability. Professional liability covers the service that you're providing. So if you do someone's hair and all of their hair falls out, they're going to sue you.
Oops.
So how are you going to protect yourself from that? Your general liability policy covers slips and falls and things like that. It's not actually covering your actions or your service that you're providing. So you need to have professional liability that will protect you in that case.
So let's maybe list some examples of people that might need professional liability. I mean, we always think about doctors and lawyers, but professional liability, errors and omissions could come into play for a lot of different types
Yeah.
of businesses.
Let's leave errors and omissions out, and we'll talk about that separately.
Okay.
And if professional liability, a perfect business is electrician. So if you wire a house,
Yeah.
if you wire a house and that house catches on fire, then you're going to get sued.
Sure.
So insurance company is only going to cover a certain point, a certain amount. Now you need that wiring needs to be done again, right?
Mhm.
It needs to be redone. So is that covered under your policy as general? No, that's covered as professional because you ran all those wires and as a result, there was an incident. So professional liability is what covers you there. So certain things, if you have certain service professions, you need to make sure that you have professional liability coverage as well.
Sure. So if you just, if you own a business, just take a moment to think about what harm can come from me doing what I do. And if you are able to identify a harm, then that's something you need to pursue to have coverage for. Yeah. And honestly, if you really think about it, it could be almost anything that people are doing that could cause harm in some way. So
Yeah.
that's a good conversation to have with your insurance agent. We'll talk about that later too.
Yes.
So what would you like to say about errors and omissions?
So errors and omissions is someone like in my profession. So people follow up or people act upon what I tell them. So if I tell you something incorrectly and you go and you don't, if I tell you something inaccurately, or if I tell you something and it's not correct, and as a result of what I say, that's your action, then that's an error, or I might have omitted something. So you have to have coverage for that. Because if someone say, it all boils down to law. Is if someone sues you and they say, well, Paul told me that I didn't need to do that. And the law says that I do. Well, and if they can prove that in court, then you have to have errors and omissions to cover you from that.
Perfect.
And it all goes back to just in case and protection. So anything out here in the business world can happen, and it does not have to be intentional. You can have the best intentions in the world, and we are all human, and you can make a mistake. Mm-hmm. So if you make a mistake, do you want to ruin your whole business? Do you want to ruin your business because of a mistake? You want to protect your business.
Right. Wonderful. That's such a great overview of liability protections that are needed. So if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, think through those things that might cause harm to others, whether physical harm or damage their property or cause financial harm, anything like that. Think that through. And really, one of my overarching points throughout this discussion is going to be you need to have a relationship with an insurance professional if you are going to own a business. You need to have someone that you, like Paul, that you can go in and talk to, that you can explain everything, be upfront with all of your plans so that they can guide you in the decisions that you're making and the insurance that you need. Don't try to do this online. Like, I'm going to go online and just buy this policy. You need to be able to talk to someone. Same thing. You need a lawyer. You need an insurance agent, an accountant, and a banker. Those are the four professionals you need to talk to if you are starting a business.
Yeah, Jana, if I can add to that, I think that when you're in the business world, you need to surround yourself with professionals. I tell my customers all the time, I'm like your doctor. I'm your insurance doctor. And what I tell you, you need to listen to. I'm not just telling you this
Right.
just to sell you a policy. I'm trying to protect you. But I stay in my lane. My lane is insurance.
Right.
When you need legal advice, then you need to have a lawyer to give you legal advice. When it comes time to do taxes and deal with your finances, you need an accountant. If you're going to run your business correctly, you need to have a relationship with all of those folks, including your insurance agent, so that you feel like, so you understand your policy for one.
Right.
Because if you do have a claim or something does happen, you don't want to be in the dark. You want to have an understanding of how the process is going to go. You should still be able to speak with your agent's office and your agent so that they can help guide you through and put you at ease. But it's all about relationships. We here we hug our customers, and our customers call us by first name. Well, some folks do. They call me Paul. I mean, that's who I am. And they know all of my staff by first name, because that's the relationships that we build. And people need to be comfortable. If you think about the cost of insurance, it costs quite a bit. And I tell folks, for what you're paying for this policy, if you were paying for something else this much, you would know a whole lot more about it than you know about your insurance policy. So you need to take it seriously. You're investing a lot of money here. You need to understand what you're getting.
Absolutely. And sometimes there are issues that it will be good to talk to multiple of those professionals. So you might have an issue that you need to talk through that issue with all three of those professionals you just mentioned. You might need to talk to the insurance side, the legal side, and the accounting side before you make a decision. So you have those experts on your team so that you can get good advice and good information.
Yes.
Now we've talked, we've talked a lot about liability. Let's talk about property.
So we had spoke earlier, and I'll bring that conversation back up. And this is the evolution of a business as it grows. A lot of times you're on a tight budget when you first start your business, small business, and you fall under the radar. Okay. So you fall under the radar until you get that one contract. You said, that's it. I got a contract. And they say, oh, by the way, you need to have liability insurance. So that's why a lot of people come to me, because they need to have insurance to be able to be in the facility where they're going to offer their services. Okay. So that's the focal point, getting that $1 million liability coverage or whatever. So my conversation is, wait a minute, you've invested all of your finances, all of your time and resources into this business. You want to make sure that you protect your investment also. So when you speak of property, that's kind of what we're talking about. We're talking about everything that is taking to run your business.
Mhm.
If that's a computer, if that's, you had to build walls, which a lot of people forget about. If you went into an empty space and you built the walls, then that's part of your investment. If that particular business were to burn down, you're going to have to put it back. So you need to have the proper coverage to be able to do that, along with all of the business property that you put in the business. That is more important to me than liability. Well, it's just as important, because you don't want to have to start all over again. And if you
Right.
do have to start all over again, you don't want to have to finance that yourself. That's what we're here for.
Sure, sure. Yeah, so if you have a fire or something and you lose all of the stuff, is your business really going to be able to continue when you lose all of your stuff? So you need to be thinking about that coverage as well.
So, I have a million examples. I'll keep them, I'll limit to
No,
them.
that's fine. Yeah,
So,
give us examples.
so I insure a business that was in a strip mall at the time. And this particular business was running their business fine. And they come in one day and there's water everywhere. It wasn't from their business, it was from the tenant next door.
Yeah,
So they didn't do anything wrong.
right.
It really wasn't their space that had the issue, it was someone else's, but it was affecting them. So they had to put a claim in. And they had to get the portion that the facility, the strip mall wasn't going to take care of. They had to come out of their pocket for that. So insurance was there to help. So when we go back and we say this is just in case business, because anything can happen.
Yeah.
You can't control all the variables that go on around you. And that was a case in which they didn't have any choice but to put in a claim, because they needed to be back. They needed to run their business. So where
Right.
all that water damage was, they couldn't use that portion of their business, which, that's
And
not
that brings up
worth.
another part of the insurance coverage is loss of use, loss of income.
Yeah. So,
That
in our area, Jana, I always tell customers pretty much one of the worst things that can happen for us in our area is a fire, because that pretty much that has a lot of residual effects as a result of it. So if a fire occurs, okay, you're not going to be able to operate your business. So you're not going to be able to generate any revenue. Your commercial policy can help you with all of that. That's where loss of income is the one.
sure.
Is what's attached to the business policy. So you have loss of income, which can help replace some of your income while your business is down. So that's huge. And
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen so we could
Okay.
some of these things folks will be able to view as we talk. Can you see it?
Yes.
So we're covering a lot of this as we go through. So
But the business owner's policy is a specific type of business policy that incorporates several of these things that we've talked about into one policy. So
Yeah.
I think you're going to explain that a little bit.
Yes. When you go, the basic policy that most people get to start with, they'll have the general liability. It'll cover the liability piece, and it'll cover your property insurance. And you see some of the examples up there are hair salons, florists. If you're a landlord or if you're a photographer, that gives you a good idea of some of the businesses that two of the main things that are covered in your policy. Now, we also insure restaurants and food trucks and, you know, all that good stuff, which branches it out. But if you just want the basics of what your business policy should cover, then you have your general liability, which we discussed. You have your property insurance, which we discussed, loss of income, which we discussed. And our policy also has this great thing called equipment breakdown. So in the event that you experience a loss under something that's covered under the policy, then we can also help you get cover your equipment breakdown. Professional liability we discussed. And let me scroll through here. And I think these are some things that we'll be talking about here in a few, so I'll just leave it on this part.
So it's great to have that resource where you can, you know, go and just read more, and you can go online and research these different topics and learn more about them before you go and speak to your insurance agent. So you maybe will understand more of what's being explained to you. I think that's a
Yeah, this
great
is on
helpful thing to do.
This is right from our website.
Yeah.
And you just go to State Farm, www.statefarm.com/small-business solutions. And it'll come up and it'll give you some links and give you an idea of what you should be looking for. And you could always just call me.
Sure, absolutely. Call Paul.
Call Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I stress that to everyone that I talk to. You've got to have that relationship. This is complicated. It's complex information. You don't want to try to figure it out on your own. You want to go to someone who will explain it to you, who you can have that relationship with, and that you can ask questions. And I can't understate the importance of it. And so this is a great overview of different types of things that business owners need to think about, and it really is an overview. We have barely touched the tip of the iceberg on these different issues, and business owners also need to think about, you see there, workers' comp, a commercial umbrella, health and life insurance for you and your employees. Those are also other things that you can talk with an agent about. Do you want to talk about those at all, Paul? Have anything to
Let's
add?
start with so if you have quite a few vehicles, then you know companies have what's called their commercial auto or their fleet, and you might be able to get a very reasonable rate by insuring them that way. I think we go with 5 vehicles or more. However, if it's less than that, you can always go the business use route, or depending on the type of vehicle, we can insure it that way. Workers' compensation is huge. I don't think everyone knows is actually required by law.
Yeah.
So for the state of Indiana, you need to have workers' comp if you have employees. And we've been talking all day about protection and just in case. And depending on what you do, or you know, it can even be in an office setting like myself. An employee could slip and fall, boss could fall on them. You never know what could happen. And, you know, they're going to want to be compensated for their time of being off work. And that's a workers' compensation issue. You definitely need to look into that. Commercial liability umbrella policy is if you could picture an umbrella that's covering you over and above your limits that you have on your policy. It's extra protection. It's important. And some folks, everyone doesn't need that, but some folks do need to have extra protection for the business, and that's how you can get it. So if you were looking for maybe $3 million worth of liability coverage and your policy only allowed you to have $1 million, that's how you can do that. This section here is great if you just want some tips on what you should look for when you're researching your business insurance. Assess your risks. As we've been talking about, I'm not going to belabor that, but we've been talking about that all morning. Work with the agent. We've also emphasized that quite a bit. And then you want to revisit at least once a year. You're going to get your policy renews every year. And you just want to make sure as your business grows that your policy is still covering you properly. So I've had some businesses that outgrew the policy that we initially wrote, and we had to add some more things to the coverages to make sure that they were properly protected.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point as well. Whenever you have something with your business that changes, it's a good idea to just touch base with your agent and, hey, we added a vehicle to our fleet. You need to make that call. We added a driver to our company. Let the insurance agent know. We're opening another location. Those are major things that
absolutely
you want to talk to your agent about.
And I think, Jana, businesses are so diverse now, and they might have started out as a smoothie business, and now they decided that they're going to add in coffee, or they're going to add, a full-blown restaurant instead of just having, at the new location, it's going to be a full-blown restaurant. So the policy that we wrote for just the smoothie business might not properly cover the restaurant. So that's definitely a conversation that we would need to have to make sure that they're protected. And I know sometimes folks say, man, I don't want to call my agent because that's going to make my premium go up. That's true, it could, but remember the premise behind insurance is protection and just in case. You don't want to be out there on your own.
And you don't want a claim to be denied when you think that it's going to be covered and it ends up being denied because you didn't give that information so that the policy could be adjusted appropriately.
Absolutely.
But I want to stress one other thing too. You mentioned people are hesitant to get the insurance because of the cost and whatnot. I think that many business owners would be surprised at how affordable business insurance really is. So I would encourage any business owner, startup, entrepreneur, whatever, have the conversation with an insurance agent, get the quotes. I think you'll be surprised at what you can reasonably afford.
Yeah. And I'll add to that, Jana, times have changed, and there's a lot of folks that are starting businesses from their home. Okay. So there's discounts for that, at least with our company, there is. So if you have a business in the residence, that's a cheaper rate than if you were a tenant in a strip mall. So, but a tenant in a strip mall, if you look at as like, that business is sort of looked at as like a renter, like renter's insurance. So you don't actually have to cover the brick and mortar, you're just covering the business. So that rate is not as bad either. Now, if you have the opportunity and you've been blessed to actually own the building and the business, then you want to properly protect all of that investment.
Absolutely.
But, insurance is a cost of doing business.
Yes. Is there anything else on the website you want to show us?
I just put this up there to validate how good State Farm Business Insurance is. Not bragging, as it says, just letting everyone know that we know what we're doing and we could handle your business insurance. I think we have covered it all. I mean, it was a high level overview,
Sure.
and hopefully everyone had the opportunity to benefit from it.
I think the people who watch this video, I hope that they will leave with at least a good understanding of the importance of looking into their business insurance and working with an agent uh, rather than trying to figure it out themselves online. Those are the two important takeaways, I think, from what we talked about. It's complex, but it's affordable and it's important. So
Absolutely.
um, if you could unshare your screen, we can close out our discussion. There we go. Thank you. Any final thoughts that you want to add, Paul?
Sure. I want to be a resource for the community. So if anyone ever has any questions, feel free to give my office a call. We're right around the corner from IUN, actually.
Yep.
So our number here is 219-884-6947. And you can also go to my website, which is www.pauldawning.com. That's PAULDAWNING. And it's been my awesome pleasure to help you guys, guide you through the basics of business insurance. Is really, if you have the right person guiding you through it, it's not that difficult.
That's a great sum up statement. It really, you get that guide, get that person that can help you through it, explain it, and it'll all be good.
Mhm.
So I thank you so much, Paul, for sharing your expertise with our audience. And I know that everyone will be blessed by having listened to this information. So I thank you so much.
Well, I
And
thank you and
wish you the
IUN.
best.
Yes, I thank you, Jana, and IUN for offering this type of link so that it can help folks understand insurance and other services that they need as they journey through business. You can't get away from, I mean, you're going to need insurance.
Right, right.
You might as well
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, we're happy to do it. We're glad we can provide this resource. So, so check out our YouTube channel. There are a lot of other videos there that you may find helpful. And this video, if you're watching it on YouTube, you've already found our YouTube channel. So check out those videos and reach out to iun.edu/SBA if we can be of assistance to you. Thank you.
Thank you.